The four remaining Republican presidential candidates faced off in Florida tonight, and this time the debate had a completely different tone. There was no name-calling tonight during this 12th Republican debate.
It comes ahead of next Tuesday's crucial contest in 5 states, including the winners-take-all states of Florida and Ohio. KTVU's Monty Francis joins us now with highlights from a debate that many are calling a much more civil performance by all of the candidates tonight.
Well, Frank and Julie, before tonight's debate, Donald Trump predicted a softer tone to the evening, and that was certainly the case. There was no name-calling this time, no personal insults, and there was a focus on a number of substantive issues. A moment of silence for late First Lady Nancy Reagan set the tone for the GOP debate in Miami, a level of civility that even seemed to surprise the Republican frontrunner himself.
I would say this: we're all in this together. We're going to come up with solutions. We're going to find the answers to things. And so far, I cannot believe how civil it's been up here.
Some of the most spirited exchanges of the night came on immigration.
We're going to end sanctuary cities, and let me tell you how we're going to do that. We're going to cut off federal taxpayer funds to any city that defies federal immigration law.
Donald Trump suggested putting a 1 to 2 year pause on issuing H-1B visas to foreign workers, citing claims from 250 tech workers at Disney who were replaced by foreign workers and sued.
It's very bad for business in terms of, it's very bad for our workers, and it's unfair for our workers, and we should end it.
Florida Senator Marco Rubio disputed that, saying he would do the opposite, increase the number of visas for foreign workers.
It is a violation of the law now to use that program to replace Americans. And if a company is caught doing that, whether it be Disney or anyone else, they should be barred from using the program in the future.
I believe in immigration, but it has to be controlled.
Ohio Governor John Kasich set himself apart as the only candidate to support the set of educational standards known as Common Core.
So let me be clear. Local control, obviously, high state standards, that's what it is in the state of Ohio.
On keeping Social Security solvent, Rubio suggested raising the retirement age.
Someone my age would retire at 68. We would continue to allow it to increase the retirement age for future generations until it hits 70.
I will do everything within my power not to touch Social Security, to leave it the way it is.
Social Security right now is careening towards insolvency, and it's irresponsible, and any politician that doesn't step forward and address it is not being a real leader.
Moderator Jake Tapper asked Trump to explain his recent controversial statement that, quote, Islam hates us. Trump refused to back down.
Did you mean all 1.6 billion Muslims?
I mean a lot of them. I mean a lot of them. There's tremendous hatred, and I will stick with exactly what I said to Anderson Cooper.
Rubio said it was important to distinguish Islam from radical Islam.
I know that a lot of people find appeal in the things Donald says because he says what people wish they could say. The problem is presidents can't just say anything they want. It has consequences here and around the world.
The answer is not simply to yell, China bad, Muslims bad. You've got to understand the nature of the threats we're facing and how you deal with them.
And just to drive home how different this debate was, Donald Trump ended the night by asking for unity in the Republican Party and by commending his opponents for doing a great job. Now, tomorrow, former GOP candidate Ben Carson is expected to endorse Donald Trump. And tonight, Mr. Trump said he welcomed that endorsement and would have Carson work on education in a Trump administration.
Monty, thank you.
Thanks, Monty.
Now to some analysis of tonight's debate. Joining us once again from Petaluma, our political analyst, Brian Sobel.
And James Taylor, a professor of politics at the University of San Francisco. Thank you both for joining us tonight. James, first to you. What a difference a week makes. The tone was much different tonight. But do you think tonight's debate did anything to move the dial for any one of these candidates?
I would say no. I think Trump did his job and maintained his front-runner status. He didn't cause too much of a stir. I think Cruz understands that when all of this sorts out, he's going to be the last man standing if the strategy of a brokered convention is to take front and center. Kasich, I think, needed to make a lot more noise than he did to get attention because he has to win Ohio, and he needed to distinguish himself, and I don't think he did. And then, of course, Rubio performed well, but I think it's much ado about nothing at this point. So I would give all of the presenters tonight, all of the debaters, about a B plus grade overall.
Brian, let's talk specifically about Marco Rubio. He said that his family thought that he embarrassed them at the last debate. He had a completely different tone tonight. He wasn't in that attack mode, that pit bull mode against Donald Trump. Do you think he moved the dial at all, especially in Florida, where he is 15 points behind Donald Trump?
Frank, I don't think so. He was actually, to some extent, subdued. He came alive on certain questions, but I think he had a very rough few days from the last debate. And frankly, the demeanor on that stage tonight was completely different from all of the other debates. I think Trump really tried to look kind of presidential in the sense that I think somebody briefed him and said, don't rise to the bait. 33 minutes into the debate, Donald Trump said, aren't we all being civil? And that's kind of the way the evening went, but I don't know that it helped Rubio in Florida at all.
James, back to you. Brian mentioned Trump looks sort of presidential. You said the candidates, you'd give them a B plus. Out of all of them, who would you say came across as the most presidential tonight?
Yeah, it's hard to describe presidential, but whatever it is, Donald Trump definitely is not it. I mean, you can't lead into a debate with an insult to 1.6 billion human beings on the earth. And so it seems to me that Donald Trump, you know, is somebody who will suffer the consequences going forward for these kinds of ad hoc attacks. I don't think he did anything to be presidential. You can't sort of show up on stage and become a new person after you've insulted half the world earlier in the week, and that seems to be Donald Trump's tactic, is he pivots from insult during the campaign trail, and then he wants to behave genteelly on the debate stage. And I think at some point Americans are getting tired of Donald Trump's act. I think they're exhausted of Donald Trump's insult. There aren't many more groups or people he can insult, and I think this can't sustain itself for the next 8 months if he loses that momentum that has driven people to him through his unconventional behavior.
Brian, the Republican...
Here's the thing, though.
Oh,
I was going to say, Frank, here's the thing. Lots of Muslims in the world, Donald Trump isn't addressing them. He's addressing the Republican base, and he's trying to deliver the knockout that gives him the nomination. He has the same challenge that Hillary Clinton does. He's got to appeal to Democrats, independents, decline to states, and if he's following his advisor's advice, he's going to start moving more to the middle here. And so that's the difference.
I agree.
Well, Florida is coming up next Tuesday, along with a couple of other states. Brian, James, thank you both for joining us tonight.
Very welcome.